Nothing on my face?
Nothing.
Okay.
All right. So again, thank you all for being here today and supporting Sajani in their very first solo exhibition and showcase. Yes, give you a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Teresa Magana. I'm one of the co-founders here at Pilsen Arts and Community House. The location that we're in today is, we consider it Patch 21. Patch is short for Pilsen Arts and Community House. We call it Patch 21 because we're on 21st Street here. Our main location is on 18th Street. So I apologize if anybody by accident showed up over there instead. It still happens. But yeah, we did an expansion into this secondary location or satellite location to be able to say yes to more artists and more emerging artists that we can't fit in our regular monthly and annual calendar at our main gallery location. So there are times that we meet artists such as Sajani where we are super impressed. We see the heart and passion that they're putting into their artwork, and we don't want to say no. And we're like, let's utilize this space to do it. So this was actually the first solo showcase and salon style presentation that we did for the public. So thank you for having faith and trust in us in doing that.
Likewise.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we're going to talk today and get to know a little bit more about Sajani and their artwork. I want to read a little bit of the excerpt that we put on our social medias when we announced the exhibition, just to give you a little bit more of a formal intro. But Sajani is a Chicago-based activist, scientist, and creative. Sajani's exhibit, One Foot In, One Foot Out, uses art to explore the intersecting planes of the earthly realm, the heavenly realm, and harder to define spaces, the fourth and fifth dimensions and phenomena in the earthly realm that are unseen and unheard to those who do not seek them. That's deep. That's intense. And when I read that and we talked about it, I was like, yes, I actually see some of that in you.
Yeah.
As a community organizer, Sajani sees feeling, dreaming, and imagining as core components of resistance and liberation. The powers that seek to separate us from our bodies and intuition, leaving us feeling that alternatives to the status quo are not possible. Sajani's art aims to bring us back to our bodies, to root ourselves in place and feel the power in a collective creative experience. I thought that was beautiful because I think a lot of what we do together as artists and creatives, and in spaces such as Patch, like that's what we're trying to do. So we were excited to present your work. Um, so before we jump into the artwork itself, we want to get to know a little bit more about you. Um, let's learn about who you are. How did you end up in Chicago? And how did you end up at Patch? We know you're a Chicago-based artist now, but what other places have you laid roots in?
Ooh. Yeah, great question, Roots. So I was born in 1993 in Chicago area, to parents that are immigrants from India, from the southern state of Andhra Pradesh. My mother tongue is Telugu. And my mother came here in 1990, um, and to Forest Park.
Okay.
So she still considers herself a West Sider,
Yes, yes.
which is very cute. And she was really out here in these streets, like eh, she was really grinding, single mom. I'm the middle child of 5 daughters.
Wow. Okay.
So I come from an all-femme family. Um, and then I was raised in Bolingbrook, Illinois, aka the Brook. Shout out. And you know, so that is very southwest Chicagoland. It is a little further, but it definitely really shaped my experience in the sense it is I mean, and people say, okay, how segregated cities are and
Yeah.
everything. Bolingbrook is supremely diverse in all ways, racially, ethnically, linguistically, and even income. So, and I grew up working class and, being exposed to so many different kinds of people from such a young age, that's definitely something that I'm very grateful for. And because it definitely shaped my, experiences. And even now I moved to Pilsen in 2021. I lived here um until 2025. And just meeting even the number of folks that just have family in Bolingbrook, or like it's all very interconnected,
Yeah.
and people think a lot of things about Chicago and Chicago suburbs and everything. They're so ready to pick on us, I think. But
Yeah.
I do feel that like a lot of Southwest Chicago land is like very like shaped me a lot. And let's see, you asked about roots. That's
Yeah.
kind of like
How did you end up in Pilsen? In like heart of Chicago?
yeah, so I ended up in Pilsen actually because my roommate at the time, he actually worked in Joliet. Um and he lived in Pilsen because 55, I-55 is
Get
easy
you
to get to.
everywhere. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I was literally like, oh, that's perfect because my mom is in the Brook.
Mhm.
So definitely like it's the proximity to 55, I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the girls that get it. And even the amount of people that are in Bolingbrook that moved to the Brook from like Logan or Pilsen or Wicker Lake is just, and even Southside, like is so funny. And so it honestly did feel like such a natural, just like
Yeah.
place to land,
Yeah.
as just like a young person in like mid 20s and stuff. So it
Yeah.
definitely did still feel like, oh, I'm coming home. Cause before that I lived in Houston. That's another place. I was an engineer there for a couple years. Um,
So
so yeah, that's
that's
kind of how
interesting. I'm glad you said engineer because we said you're a scientist, right?
yes.
So when I first met you, you came into Patch, and I think it was just a workshop that you signed up for.
Mhm.
And we'll get into that in a little bit. But I later learned that that was your background, as an engineer, scientist, and then a little bit at a time, I get nuggets of things that you knew, and into environmental activism and things like that. So it's always very interesting to me when I meet other creators and artists. We only talk about the art. We only talk about our creative lives. Everything else is like outside of the bubble, right?
Oh,
And it takes a while for folks to kind of get to know a little bit of the other side. So I think sometimes it's interesting because I meet people that were like they're like engineers and scientists, or they're lawyers, or they're like
wow.
nurses, or different, just completely different types of careers, but art is still like a huge part of their life. So
Yeah.
do you want to talk a little bit about your the other half of your
The
life?
other half of my life,
Like
yeah.
especially the environmental activism and things that you've been involved with.
Yeah, definitely, what drew me to the field was I always wanted to do environmental work. Um, it's kind of funny because, of course, where I grew up, there's a lot of air pollution over there. Actually, there's a lot of freight traffic, and I have experienced also like water getting shut off when you can't pay the bills and things like that. And the thing is, like, if I'm being really honest, like it just was logical to me. I was just like, oh, everything kind of just stems from your environment, the environment, the quality of the environment you live in, and infrastructure. And so I did environmental science in undergrad, and then I just didn't identify with the very like tree hugger culture that it had.
Yeah.
It honestly was just it was very white and was not something I could relate to. And that's actually what pulled me to engineering, because I felt that it was the application of science, right? And so I like that actually right now you also already made that distinction between science and engineering. To me, they are completely different
Mhm.
things. One is rooted in observation, and a question, right? And the other one in engineering is more of an optimization problem and the application of things.
Mhm.
So I do consider myself like a half scientist, half engineer. And funny enough, um, I can't totally describe why, but
Mhm.
I do feel that my scientific half is also what speaks to my visual artistic practice, and my engineering half speaks to my actually musical abilities and practice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and because those two are also like two halves of my heart, I feel music and
Right.
visual art, they are both very important to me.
Yeah.
They just serve different functions in my life in a
Yeah.
way. Um, and so, it wasn't until actually I put on this showcase exhibition that I the environmental piece kind of returned to me. I think that actually all artists have feel some kind of connection to nature. Um, it's very corny and cheesy, and and it has also become so politicized. Um, you know, uh, I mean, I could go on and on. I have a soapbox about that, of course. Um, but nature, there's a reason for that. And nature is something that humans can all relate to. This is because nature is the divine balance, truly. Anyone that thinks they can solve nature or figure it out, they're wrong.
Yeah.
Nature is above all of us. It is not
Yeah.
something that's cute and cuddly. We can pet it just for camping. And it's also not something that is
Yeah.
important to control, dominate, that we need to build a dam, highways over, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
all these things.
I mean, it's literally here before us.
Yes, and it will
So,
continue to be here when we are not here either.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that is something, it's not something to be fetishized or dominated. It is something to be respected. And so nature is, of course, it is a huge inspiration in a lot of my art, not just because I don't paint sunsets and landscapes. Actually, I even tell my students in watercolor, but I don't paint landscapes like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Outer landscapes,
Mm.
inner landscapes more, of
Mhm.
course, but it is all very influenced by natural forms. And, you know, whether I I saw a picture of, like, neural pathways once, and I painted it, and then I showed my sisters, and they were like, "Oh, it looks like oranges."
Mm.
You know what? I think it's this repeating pattern, like,
Yeah.
these patterns and sort of, the wisdom that is not that nature holds and all of that. It is something that definitely I felt as a scientist, as an engineer, and I still
Yeah.
express a lot as an artist. And I know I'm not the only one, of course. And then also regarding the activism and everything, um, I tell some of my friends that are in activism, environmentalism is a very easy fast track to radicalization.
Mm.
Uh, it it connects everything, whether it's education and gender rights, trans rights, like racism, all of these things. Like it connects everything together, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. So,
Mm.
uh, absolutely, it was my
Yeah.
path to learning about theory and being able to yeah, just see how integrated all of our systems are, and that is
Yeah.
also what, motivates me in a lot of my activism,
Yeah.
whether it is directly, environmental justice work and climate work, or whether it's right now, I'm currently an organizer for the South Asian American, Coalition to Renew Democracy, so more democracy forward work and, cultural organizing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that's a long answer,
No,
but
that,
it's definitely, like, a huge part of, like, how I approach my
yeah.
practices and
And thank you
everything.
for sharing that because that, and I think this is the important part of having discussions with the artist to learn some of the personal side because what you just said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. When you start looking at your artwork and the different details and intricacies in there, then it connects. You're like, oh, otherwise you're left to your own like interpretation or thoughts to what you're seeing, right? But once you get to know the artist's perspective and side, or even just a little bit of their life experience, then it ties everything together. So I'm really glad whenever we're able to do these discussions because then, yeah, it makes more sense.
Cool, yeah.
But yeah, and you mentioned about music.
Yeah.
So you're a musician also.
Yes.
I'm a little bit of an amateur band nerd, a musician too.
That's right.
We're gonna be part of a little ensemble later this summer, so I'm
Yeah.
excited for that. But definitely want to hear a little bit more about your musical side.
Oh, yes. Um, so I mean, I played violins as a young kid. Credit to my mother for putting me in lessons, and me and my older sister Samyu, we would go. She had piano lessons at the same time. I hated it, honestly. I It was too much work and felt like more homework to do and things like that. But when I got to high school and I joined more of a bigger ensemble, I just love the connecting aspect, the teamwork aspect of it, the mathematical aspect of it. I know I mentioned that. How can I say engineering side? Um, there, and I still play violin. I had a scholarship for it and everything. I minored in music in college, and I really enjoyed actually when I was in college. I studied musicology as well, which is a branch of anthropology.
Yeah,
And I was even considering actually going to grad school for it. But that absolutely changed completely how I view my work and even environmental
yeah.
work and things like that. Just in the way that you know societies shape culture and culture
Mhm.
shapes society. Um, I still play violin. It's super fun now. I love it. I just meet so many great people through
Yeah.
it, and I like that it is something that happens.
Mhm.
You can't take it all in at once, but then visual art, you take it all in at once,
Yeah.
and it's a static thing. So
Yeah.
they feel like a nice balance for me.
They are. I think visually you could see it in some of your pieces. So even without you have somebody not knowing that you're a musician, there are certain pieces hanging on the walls where you see kind of like these frequency flows and motion. You
Yeah.
can see the motion. Um, so yeah, and you got to perform at the opening. So we had the opening on May 30th, which was presented in salon style. So what that means is it basically was an evening of art, music, poetry, performance. We had a little screening of a short film as well. And part of the musical part was you playing with it was a cello player and
Yes,
viola.
I had a
And
string quartet.
string quartet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then do you want to tell us a little bit about, for those of you that weren't able to make it for that opening night, who else was performing and that was part of the programming that y'all supported each other that evening?
Yes, yes, it was a big, long evening in a good
You
way.
don't believe me, yeah.
Yes, so the title of my exhibition here is called One Foot In, One Foot Out. Um, and that means a lot of things. Um, I can maybe talk about what it means to me in a second,
Mhm.
but from the jump, Teresa told me about the idea she had for a salon event, where essentially the goal is just to get folks talking and thinking a little bit more about the artwork itself. Right away, I liked this idea and it really solidified itself to me for a couple of reasons. One, because I do think that visual art is something that is tricky in our present day Instagram era.
Yeah,
More thoughts on that later.
yeah.
And two, because of accessibility. I myself I am a disabled person. That is my sunflower pin. It is a symbol of invisible disability. And my older sister, who is a good friend of mine, she's also disabled, and one of my collaborators also. She is actually vision impaired, and you know different folks relate to different media in different ways, right? So, for example, like visual art is not always accessible to people,
Right.
right? For
Yeah.
example, people that cannot see. Um, so I like that, it can be more inclusive, because the message is beyond the artwork itself, the visual artwork, the pieces itself. So I love that. And not to mention I'm a musician. So I immediately started thinking about different performance artists and how I could stack the evening. And I very quickly asked one of my collaborators, his name is Sunny Patel, and he is an incredible bansuri player. That is Hindustani, North Indian classical music. This is a bamboo flute from North India, and he actually had a DCASE grant, which is Department of Cultural Affairs special events. They give individual artist grants to certain artists. So he had this grant and we decided to collaborate. So it just kind of grew from there into a whole thing. He really resonated with the theme of the evening, one foot in, one foot out. There's many ways that many of my artists could resonate. So for example, myself and Sunny, we are first generation Indian Americans. And right away, even I myself, we are not immigrants, but our parents are, and immigrants have one foot in the homeland and one foot outside of it.
Right.
That's one thing. Even if you are part of a diaspora culture, in mine and Sunny's case, we feel we have one foot in,
Yeah.
American culture and one foot in Indian culture. And I did specifically for the whole event, I wanted to center people of color also, because I wanted to showcase the power of our communities, how beautiful our art forms are, as well as, I mean, and that is probably the oldest type of one foot in, one foot out I remember experiencing, of like, okay, I have my dark skin culture here, my brown culture here. This is how I view things. But then when I go out into the world, I'm literally like, I need to translate into
Yeah.
right for others. And that is something that I think all people of color experience. Anyone that I think identifies with their culture that is
Sure.
not Western dominant. Um, and uh, and then, of course, myself and my good friend who was the lead singer and wrote all the songs for our headliners. As I mentioned, she's vision impaired, and I also have a disability. And all disabilities are on a spectrum. She can partially see, but she didn't get diagnosed until she was 6 years old. I didn't get diagnosed until I was a little bit older as well. And so, something we both related to is the way, again, psychologically, how we translate uh what we are experiencing. In both of our cases, it is actually seeing sometimes. And kind of, we spent a lot of time translating to be like, okay, but what's the normal people seeing or experiencing,
Yeah.
and trying to go back and forth between those worlds.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that all disabled people experience. And then a lot of my and Sunny himself, well, sorry, I want to be respectful of the but
Yeah.
different collaborators also identify as queer, and that is another thing. So, of course, it's basically any of the in-betweens a
Right.
lot of times, right?
Right.
So it did turn into a whole thing, and I wanted to all of the acts and music, it was all speaking to that sort of theme and idea and self-expression, and the idea was joy as rest and healing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it definitely, I think everybody experienced that evening. I spent time recording on our Instagram live, and through each moment, I'm just like getting more emotional and more emotional as I'm like panning across the room, and to stand and just see a room full of all shades of brown and white and everything in between, and um May 30th going into June, into Pride Month, and just starting to see so many of our marginalized communities walk with authenticity and being present in spaces in their true essence, right?
Yes.
Like that's what it felt like that night. It really did.
So
And so thank you for putting that together. Oh, we said we weren't gonna cry on this thing, but you did that.
thank you. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, and Sunny, oh my God, he's just a beautiful spirit light. Like
Also,
it just
yeah.
resonated through the music. It was super powerful. You had to have been here to experience it.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you for saying that.
yeah.
And that is exactly what I wanted to feel, you know? And it's even for myself and, you know, my friend Stephanie. And I think it's crazy sometimes, like, uh, literally just, and like I'm speaking from a disability lens, and it's also because we're both women of color with disabilities, but really anybody that has experienced any kind of marginalization, really
Mhm.
just to step out in public and express yourself in itself is like
Yeah.
a lot of times like dangerous,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
so I'm really glad that
Yeah.
you felt that. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
I'm gonna take a quick pause because I see that our screen is black over here, so I
Oh,
wanna make
okay.
sure that it's still recording. And we're getting such great conversation. Okay, it is. It just was on break. Um, yeah, so that was a beautiful evening that has brought us into all of June. So we've had a number of activations in the space, and um, we had a Wellness Wednesday retreat evening
Mm.
where we had 4 practitioners come and um, just do different kind of healing practices with everybody and teaching us things. And just having the artwork around that evening was also very impactful because, you know, we were going through some exercises and things like that. And visually, you know, um, at Patch on 18th, we always say that the walls have get fueled with that energy. So it's like that evening on May 30th kind of like fueled the space.
Yes, the energy.
And,
Yes, I believe
yeah,
that.
and we had that evening, and I think that fueled the space as well. So it's been, you know, kind of this continuation of that. So I'm glad for that.
Touch you.
So I want to talk a little bit more of just kind of now your journey into now really focusing and becoming more intentional with your artwork is what I would say. Because when I first met you, as I mentioned before, you had come in just for a workshop. I think it was our printmaking
Yes.
workshop, which was your first one. It was vinyl cut relief printmaking, which there's a couple of the small black and white prints over there.
Those are my first ones.
And I remember, I don't know if it was that evening, because I always tell everybody that takes that class, I was teaching it at the time, if you want to come back, we have open studio. Come back on a Tuesday. You can keep working on it. I can help you out. I do my whole spiel that I do with everybody about the space and just letting people know that it's there for them. And you showed up. You showed up on a Tuesday and you said, "Hey, I want some more help." And then you kept showing up. And, you know, I give this spiel a lot to a lot of people where I just kind of feel something and, you know, sometimes they come through, sometimes it takes them a while. But I really love it when people take me seriously. And they're like, "Yeah." They're like,
Yeah, you did it.
"I come and you'd help me out." And I was like, "Yeah, let's sit down." So that's how we started our artistic relationship together, and
Yeah.
it's grown into a friendship, and it's grown into professional relationship as well, and mentoring and things like
Yes.
that.
Mhm.
So I have seen your artwork progress, and I didn't know that Sajani did watercolor for I don't know how long. It's just like, "Oh, it's nothing. It's my little sketch." She was like opening up a sketchbook on like a Tuesday night. I'm like, "What is that?" And I'm flipping through the pages. I'm like, "Girl, you're an artist already. What are you talking
Oh,
about?"
I didn't know that.
And yeah, and then I think during that time you had kind of shared a little bit that you were in transition to different kinds of things in your life, and um, I think Patch always presents itself or somehow in the timeline of people comes into their life around those times. So
Oh.
I I picked up on that and I was like, "Hey, you know, you should keep coming back. Hey, do you ever teach? Because I teach basic watercolor, but I don't know how to paint like you do." And then we started talking about you teaching.
Yeah.
And you were like,
Yeah.
"What? I'm not a teacher for
Yeah.
art." And I was like, "Don't worry." I'm like, "You just basically are sharing what you know how to do already. You just share it with people, and people that are interested will follow along." So that's been a beautiful progression because now
Oh.
Sajani's classes are held here every other Monday evening, and sometimes it's 2 people, sometimes it's 8 to 10 people, and lately it's been, pretty packed classes, so and they keep coming back.
Yeah.
It's progressing, but, um, all that to say is that I think during that time, um, I was personally seeing that artistry in you and was wondering, like, "You should do it more. Why don't you do it more?" And if you could tell us a little bit, like, what in that part of your journey in this, creating art, um, what were you what were you feeling at that time, in that sense of, like, what made you feel that you could release yourself into creating more art and presenting it and showing it because you weren't showing it to anybody,
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I know that's kind of a deep question,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but
That's a good question though, because I do know that some people they like to create and it's just for them, and I think that is absolutely good. Not everyone needs to be putting their stuff out there every single, like even I think social media has kind of killed hobbies in a way because now everyone thinks they need to be super good. And if you are good, you need to be monetizing it or whatever. Um,
yeah, and I think we went through some of those conversations as well.
yeah,
I
right.
remember saying, like, "Don't worry about it, just keep doing what's making you happy."
Yes,
Mm.
yes, and I think getting that input from outside was very important, and I absolutely pay that forward even in my students because I get most of my students are femmes with, not all the time, maybe some 9 to 5 or, like, a day job, and maybe they are a lot of them actually are, like, teachers or work in healthcare or something like that, but a lot of times they work at a desk job
Yeah.
and they're super scared and they feel like they're not allowed to mess up the painting or they can't, and
Mhm.
it's like, no, you're literally allowed just to do this for yourself,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think, however, for me, that is little bit the difference between my musical practice and my visual artistic practice.
Mhm.
I didn't want to admit it with my visual art, but I think people need to see this
Mhm.
100%. Whereas my music, I don't care at all. I could never, for me, it is literally just such a joy of a moment and like with friends and community. Like,
Yeah.
you could never take a picture of me playing the violin, but I will just be doing it for sure.
Mhm.
You know, with my visual art, yeah, you giving me encouragement was super great because I genuinely, I couldn't even afford to get like cotton watercolor paper. You know what I'm saying? And I was literally just like, why would anyone want to see this? Even though I knew maybe deep down I was good or something. I don't know. So yeah, probably. I'm sorry, but how many femmes probably have experienced this? I hate it.
Yeah.
And, POCs, whatever, where you talented, high key talented, but you're just like, am I allowed to even
Yeah.
post this or something or say, like, how dare I
It's
kind of
this
thing?
yeah, it's this weird thing that, somewhere, I don't know where it is on our or if it's cultural or just, like, societal, right, that we, dim ourselves, because
Yes.
we don't wanna make people around us feel
Mm.
intimidated,
Yes.
and it's a weird thing because
This whole crowd literally said, mhm.
yeah,
Yes.
and it's I'm glad we're talking about this because 'cause I've told my daughter, who is an emerging artist as well, um, she's badass,
Yes.
and every now and then, I could kinda see her retreat a little bit, and I'm like, "No, no, 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 put it out there, and, don't be afraid, of how it's gonna make someone else feel in that sense of, not feeling less, but there's always these intimidations that we have with each other, and social media is a big part of it, right? Because
Mhm.
everybody's always
Mm.
trying to live up to these visual things that they're feeding us and stuff like that.
Yes.
But yeah, going back to because I've experienced that too, where, you know, deep down, I know I'm really good at my
Yes,
art, but
yes,
I'm not walking around like a lot of, sorry, no shade, no complete shade to the male artists, but male artists do that all the time. They're like,
yes,
this is my work, and they're very confident about it.
yes.
And I think,
I know you could smoke them. Seriously. Like, I'm not saying it's all subjective. Art is subjective.
yeah,
I'll put
it's
that out
very,
there.
very,
But yeah, I do want to say yes, like, and that is why even I'm so glad that um some of my femme creative friends are here. Like, I
uh,
do feel also like it's a different process
yeah, yeah,
in a lot of ways
yeah,
when you're a creative and you're a femme, and and then toss in these other expectations and things.
yeah.
So um yeah, like I guess going back to your, what was the question? What did you decide to like pick up the pace
Yeah,
with
like
it, or
really allow yourself to let go to it, to
let the
like flow with it. Yeah.
and you know what? Like, when I remember, I asked you one time, I was just like volunteering. I was at this, at the gallery, and I was just like, "Oh, like, is Patch still doing those watercolor classes?" And you were like, "Oh, to take, you want to take them or you want to teach them?" And I was like, "Yo, I wanted to take them. What do I look like?" Right? Because even in my mind, I'm just like, I don't know how to control it. I could only, I don't. Also, watercolor is different, and
Yeah.
it's funny how in the art world, watercolor is just known for being more difficult because you can't control water. Also, funny enough, when I was an engineer, I was a water resources engineer,
Mm,
so there's a little bit of this through line here for
yeah.
me. And actually, acrylic and oil, like, for whatever reason, maybe this will change, but it doesn't compute to me. Everything here is like only a water based
Mhm.
uh medium. This one actually has some acrylic in it, but even that is like gouache. Like, I don't know, like, the water just like speaks to me a little bit more, and maybe it's out of like respect for it. I was just like, I'm not good or something,
Yeah.
or like, I don't know. And I was just like, yeah, maybe, I could, these patch classes are sliding scales, so maybe I could brush up on. And I still do believe that. Actually, I think there's nothing wrong with me.
Mm,
I would love to just walk into a beginner class sometime, whether it's violin or whatever. Like, I think there's always something to learn from different teachers. But this idea that, like, oh, I have some knowledge that I could potentially share with
right.
no. Right? And then the other thing is, I'm a highly abstract artist. And in my mind, and it's funny because in the fine art world, I know it's different, but then when you're in these streets, it's
Mhm.
different. Like, I felt, and even still do sometimes, feel very insecure about how I'm such an abstract artist.
Mm,
It's always like, "Oh, what does this mean? I don't get it," that type of thing. And so when I first started teaching, at that point in my life, especially, when you told me, like, I think you should just teach, and you were like super supportive in the sense, like, I like that you don't coddle, but also like when, I don't know, like, it's just really cool. I
uh-huh.
appreciated that you weren't like, oh, like, in some sugary way, like, "I just really believe in you." You were just like, "Okay, we'll set up a practice workshop." I literally have a couple friends here
Yeah.
today that literally
Yeah.
came to my very first, like, I've never taught, but, like, let's experimental. You're like, "We'll set that up, show me your work, we'll do a meeting," like, all these things, right?
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah.
very, like, I got you type of thing.
Mhm.
And then, and so of course, I did it and I started doing it. Just because I was like, I'm not ready for this, but I just feel like the opportunity is coming to me for a reason. I
Mhm.
think I remember that's how I am. Literally, my friend right here, I remember I was breaking it down with her, Latanya, sitting right here. Like, that was super encouraging, by the way. I remember talking to you. And um, like, it took me a long time to find my footing though. And
Mm.
I wanted to quit multiple times. I think, like,
Yeah, I felt that too, but I was
okay,
like, "When
yeah.
are we gonna schedule the next one?"
And I was just like, "I'm tired. I couldn't do
Yeah.
it, this and that." And fun, and it was funny. My mother, who is also here, she was like, "Girl, you don't even paint landscapes, but you're trying to teach your students landscapes. Like, this is why you're burning out so much." And I was just like, "Oh, yeah." And then my other friend, Sanjana, who was literally here, was like, "Dude, mixed media is trending. People love this, this type of thing. Like, you got to do your style, like, whatever you want to do, like, it's trending. Trust me, people will still like it." And
Yeah.
because I had it in my head, like, oh, I need to paint, I need to teach them mountains and flowers. Otherwise, they won't like it.
Yeah.
I need to send them home with something. And I would literally, I would spend hours and hours prepping for like
Yeah.
a single class, like multiple days prepping, because I was just like, I need to make sure that I know exactly what step is coming next and blah, 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 blah. And I also was doing a new painting every single class. Now I'm doing a new painting each month.
Mhm.
And funny enough, and I made it always two paintings actually.
Right, right.
One is like a warm up, especially because again, with watercolor, you have to experiment. You have to learn it experientially. You can't just
Right.
watch YouTube videos and learn it, expect yourself to learn. So, I definitely feel that teaching has been a huge, huge way for me to like just cement my artistic voice and language.
Mhm.
And now it's crazy. It absolutely flows. And it's so funny because one of my little sisters is a teacher. She teaches middle school science, and like
Yeah.
other teachers that I know, it takes them 5+ years before they finally feel like they're solid. And I have a way of approaching this. And like I'm of course nowhere near what she is doing, but like I would say it took me 1 year
Mhm.
to be like, oh, okay, and talking to like my trusted community
Yeah.
and everything, and being like, okay, I think like you should paint what you like. And I was like, what a concept.
Yes, and then I actually didn't know that you were not necessarily liking teaching the other because we had to have we ended up having a combo where I'm like, "Teach what you're comfortable teaching. Teach with what you like, so I'm glad other people told you."
Yeah, that's true.
But,
Yeah.
and it's been beautiful because I get the commentary afterwards. Maybe you don't get it that
Oh,
night of, but, like, I'll meet other people, where they come back and take other classes with us, and they're like, or they've been here and they're like, "Oh, I've been here for the watercolor class, and it's so, good, it's relaxing, it's helped me," and they give
oh,
the feedback on, um, how it is a form of and that's the biggest thing that we do as Patch and the art classes that we do is that we want people to feel, one, that they're learning something and things like that, but it's their release, it's their time away from the rest of the world, it's, their therapy, kinda thing.
yeah.
Um, and when somebody that's not confident or experienced with those art forms and they're learning from somebody, that's like a piece from them, then there's that, exchanging of just kinda helping each other. So, people have expressed that. So your classes have been really
Oh,
beautiful, in a
thank
lot of different
you.
ways. Um, so yeah, and
Thank
we're gonna
you.
keep those going.
Definitely.
So yeah, a good majority of your pieces are watercolor based. Some are mixed media, like they're like ink and watercolor.
Mhm.
And I really love the kind of mixed media where mixed imagery that you're teaching now because I think for some people when you're taking an art class, you get a particular image that they're trying to show you. But I think the new approach now is you're working in that abstract form a little bit, like
Yes.
shapes, movement, how the colors are working with each other or not. And that in itself mentally helps in a lot of different ways too.
Yeah.
So I think you finding that footing, with for yourself and for the students has been really good. But
And I have to say
yeah.
they've been teaching me so much too.
Yeah.
All the time. A lot of times I'll be like, "Ooh, I need to steal that color
There
palette."
you go.
Like, like that's a good one. Or like they seriously like they always impress me. They always teach me something, and even when they're like, I didn't even know I had it in me type of thing. And
Mm.
even especially again because abstract I think like feels inaccessible somehow for a lot of but then when with my new approach, like a lot of people are like, "I didn't realize squares could be so cool." Like,
Right?
it's cool. So
Yeah.
so there's a lot of, like, yeah, aspects to that,
Yeah.
even for my opening reception, some of my students came through and, it was
Yeah.
so sweet. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
I learn from them all the time, I have
Yeah.
to say that, yes.
And you've experimented with some other mediums. There's one back here, the 54 Cermac, the
Yes.
terrain. So that one's a lino cut print, right?
Or a
Or a
monotype. Mhm.
monotype print, and the one right behind you as well. That's a monotype, right?
Yeah, yeah, with the
Mhm.
plate, mhm.
Do you still experiment with that a little bit, or not too much anymore?
I like it. I really I'm gonna get back to it. I Also, I'm gonna get back to it
You'll get
for sure. Yeah, I think that I've just been so I've been returning to drawing actually.
Mm.
That is what I have been where my mind has been
Yeah.
a little bit.
Which
But
you are a great illustrator as well. So
oh,
we've
thank you.
seen her sketchbook, and you had a whole Pilsen series of plants and buildings and things, and those have been the most successful zines that at Patch that get sold. So
Oh,
I think we need to re-up again because I think the last ones we got from you, they're all sold out. But the illustrations have been really great. So the drawing, yeah.
thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I've been yeah, they're available for sale here. And my sketchbooks are over there, and I really like to just it's kind of funny, and that's for me the one foot in, one foot out
Mm,
way of describing my artistic practice is how I'm just kind of one foot in reality and the other foot is
mm,
elsewhere,
yeah.
up here or in between.
Yeah.
So my sketchbooks and also being disabled, I spend a lot of time being still,
Mm,
unfortunately, or inside, or when it's nice outside, I just sit outside. And sketching my surroundings is a really great way to ground and literally just pass the time, and it makes me feel connected to my surroundings as well, and it inspires me because even I don't know, I feel that a lot of my surroundings are my friends, and a lot of my creations are my friends, even the abstract ones. So,
mhm.
um, that is yeah, that just
Yeah,
informs some of
yeah,
my, like, sketching of the representational side, and then in my own inner processing,
yeah.
my own
You had
process.
a good balance of the pieces, and what I mean is,
Oh, did you
like a
wanna,
oh,
do this real
take a pause. Let's make sure it's still going. Um, as someone that, like, curates, exhibitions and works, you have a good balance in my eyes of the abstract work and then some of the more obvious, invisible things. And I know this is a kind of a span of your art journey, right? Because you're
Yes.
talking and you're like, I have all this work. What do I present?
Yeah.
Do I just, I really love these more abstract pieces, but these other pieces are a big part of kind of leading up to that, or you kind of went back and forth. So, as we were going through this process, I'm like, well, you should just show them all, right? So people could see that journey, especially with it being your first showcasing as a solo artist, right? Um, how how did you feel, or what, as you were going through the different pieces, was there anything that specifically in the ones that you selected, um, that were that you decided, these are the most impactful ones for me, or for that I want to be seen? Or was it more of this is the journey? If you could speak on that a little bit as far as like the selection that you did end up choosing, because we did
Yeah.
end up pulling some out,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes.
it was
Because
it was a challenge, right?
it really was, because I remember I brought everything into the studio in this, like, frigid January
Yes.
day, and, like, I brought the dog in too, and I brought some coffee, and I was just like, "What are we doing?" Well, and, I do have to credit actually my little sister Siamala for the title. She did not realize that I was swiping, but, like, of one foot in, one foot out. I think because she had said that earlier, not even in context of my art, but actually some other outsider artwork that we were looking at together
Mhm.
that like, we both really loved it, and she was like, "It's giving one foot in, one foot out," in a complimentary way, right? And, like, a really deep compliment.
Yeah.
"It's giving one foot in, one foot out." Like, there okay, I'm sorry, I have to shout out this one piece. It's by an artist from Project Onward, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
also a
Yeah.
disabled artist.
Yeah.
It's a piece literally called Hillary Clinton Adopts Alien Baby.
Oh my goodness.
Phenomenal.
I love that title.
Phenomenal. It was like a magazine cover, like, it was just so good, and Sianglo was like, "It's giving one foot in, one foot out."
Yes.
Or yeah, anyway, um, and just I identify with that type of artwork, and I just said it when I was in that meeting with you,
Mm.
and I was like, and the thing is, I think like not even a week later, I ran into Sunny Patel
Mm.
at a salon event for some Indian music, and I was just like, I love his playing so much. It literally strikes something in me, and what do you call I cornered him
Yeah,
afterwards, and I was like,
yeah.
"You know what, Sonny? You need to play for my event. It's called 1 Foot In, 1 Foot Out." I was like, "There it is. I guess there's no going back now." Um, like, I'm starting to say it, so I guess this might as well be the title.
Yeah,
But he immediately liked it, and then when I was talking about it to my friend Stephanie, who is the
yeah,
singer for that group. I put them together. I was like, "Yeah, it's called 1 Foot In, 1 Foot Out," and she started describing how she relates to it. So I was like, "Okay, you know what? I think there's no going back now."
yeah,
And so and I think because I guess so that's kind of a funny story now that I'm thinking about it, because it kind of came from the title itself,
right.
which uh like is just I guess a great way to describe how I approach my creative practice.
Yeah,
And then and definitely from talking to my collaborators that uh from talking to my collaborators and then having to pitch it
mm,
to my other artists, that also forced me to believe in it. I was like, yeah, it's called, like, here's the pitch, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
So I'm like, okay, yeah, we're doing
What
this.
I'm doing.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, right? And and from there, that helped me solidify, I think, because I had more confidence, more and more confidence. I was like,
Right.
okay, you know what? I'm gonna pick my favorite pieces, and I think something that is a challenge for all artists, right? Balancing what you think other people want to see versus like what I want to show.
Right. Yeah, and I remember us talking about that. What do
Yes,
you think is people wanna see? Or, we even had the combo about pricing and buying, and
yes,
something that I always, have conversation with artists as we're, like, putting a show together, like, what is your ultimate goal? Do you just want it to be exposed to the world? You don't care if it sells or not?
yes,
Do you need to make money?
yes. What's your goal?
What's your
Yes, that was
because
such a good
because if
conversation.
you need to make money, then we gotta approach this differently, and we gotta, like, market it a certain way,
Hmm.
or is it a little bit of both? And I think that really kinda helped tone
Yes,
it in, right?
it helped tone it in because you know what, I finally let go of what I had felt deep down, which is that
Yeah.
like I think I just want as many eyes on my work as possible. I don't care if they're ready for it or not.
Mhm.
I just know I have something to say.
Yeah.
So it has, and it still was a challenge. You know what I'm saying? Like after talking to other artists and how they think about their work and this and that, like, um, I still do think that abstract artwork is not always something that resonates, or something that doesn't resonate immediately, or it's something that feels like it's reserved for just the fine art world or whatever. But I just chose to put things out there, and I priced them how, which I hated that process. That was something new for me. I was just like, I felt gutted afterwards. I was just like, why don't I just put on a gallery thing for my family and friends and call it?
Yeah.
Why do I have to put price tags on them? Which I have sold a couple of things, and I'm
Yes, congrats.
grateful, thank you. Although it was things I didn't expect at all. So you never know, right? That's what I feel. Art is subjective, but
So I'm glad you said
um,
that was hard for you and it was exhausting afterwards, because I
yes,
think as artists, when we are creating work, we're not thinking about that in the forefront, for a lot of us, and it is something intimate, it's something personal, and you're putting a price on something that,
yes,
you know, you've transmuted into, like, a physical form, right? And
yes, yes,
yeah, it can be very hard, and I think, that statement of, like, I'm an artist, I'm sensitive," like, there's reasons for that.
yes, yes,
Um, but it also helps to start, and just to share, with others that listening to this, right? Like, valuing and being confident in your artwork, um, is one thing, but putting the price on it, you know, knowing that you do want to pursue this in a more sustainable way,
yeah,
at some point, that yes, the value monetarily, needs to start somewhere. and it builds up from that. And I think that was a good convo that we had leading up to this as well. So as challenging as it can be, we all go through it, right? So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, that was definitely, and I think now having gone through it for the first time, I'll be that much more prepared to do it again. But
Yeah.
that was definitely, it was a little bit of a shock to my system. I'm not gonna lie. Of like in a way that I didn't expect it to, right? Like, oh, how difficult it would be. And
Well, that's a part of the seeing art as a business thing. And
yes,
we're not always, we're just creating art because we're creating art.
exactly.
That's a component. I want to like mention it enough. I don't think that we talk about it in such a comfortable, normalized way. Everybody's like, "What is the price I have to ask for it?" Or "How did you come up with that?" And it's so subjective as well too. Just as
Yes.
visually, art is very subjective. Pricing on art can be super subjective sometimes too. So
Yes. And a couple things I actually want to say that I'm remembering from a previous conversation that you and I had. You said, you know, even if you do want to show pieces because other people like it, that's not, obviously people relate to that differently. It doesn't automatically make you a cop out or whatever, actually. And that was something, there's no absolutes.
right.
It's definitely like a lesson that I got from you. And so, for example, actually, like this arrowhead plant, it is like that painting in particular. I know people like love it. People really like plants, and I know people like watercolor in plants, but it's this top left one. I know people like absolutely love it because there's something about it, the way it's like looks like it's moving, and it was just like a pot in my house, right? Like, I think that's sweet. There's nothing wrong with that, and also it is a good
It is.
date, right? Yeah, like, so it actually, sometimes it can give you confidence. There's nothing, there's nothing wrong with that, like considering what other people are saying. And I think it also, in a way, it kind of depends on who is giving you these comments and things like that. Like, I actually didn't name this one over here Chicago, the small one, until I literally had 3 different friends tell me, "Oh, it looks like Chicago skyline." So I changed the name, right? And I was like, "Oh yeah, I love that," because I do actually sketch on public transit a lot, and like the sensory, the imagery of Chicago is in my mind a lot. So anyway, that was something. And then what was the other thing I was going to say? Pricing and what I chose to put in here.
Yeah. Is there any particular piece that has been and this is always a hard thing, and I hate it when people ask me, but I'm gonna ask you, like, what's your most favorite connected piece, like for you personally? What is the one that you really?
So I'm excited to answer this just because I thought about it already.
Okay.
If you asked me off the cuff, I would definitely get awkward and be like, okay. So I will tell you. No. Okay, I'll tell you. There's a couple of things here. A walk with friends on the other end is damn near perfect to me.
That's
because
on the left.
Not the far one on the left, the second one from the left.
Okay, that one. Okay. And we'll make sure to put a picture on it for the folks that are seeing it
Yes,
later.
for the folks that can't see it. I love how it evolved. I loved the process of it, and I love the process from start to finish, and I love the final product. And um I love the title. I love that I named it that. I love that the title is just something that came to me because that is literally how I feel about it. I love the style of it. I'm really excited to like keep pushing and experimenting and refining that specific type of style.
Yeah.
Because it's completely unplanned and intuitive. And every time I sat down to keep working on it, it was like I entered that mode of, even though it wasn't all in one sitting, uh, it was the feeling of play and like happiness in my work. And I remember, and my mom saw me working on it. I remembered she was like, "How do you know when it's done?"
Mm,
And I was like, "It's like a conversation.
yeah,
You just know when it's done."
yeah.
And that's exactly how that one worked. Um, and yeah, I'm excited to like keep um refining that style.
Mhm.
However,
Uh-huh.
like as a piece like on its own, and this is the thing because I know that then this is the thing, I know that these are not actually my most popular ones. From based on how everyone that came here, I know that We'll Walk with Friends. Mm, I know exactly which people liked it.
Uh-huh.
I recognize it. I'll say that. But like as a piece in completion, I think it's so good. It's this foursome right here
Oh,
on
well,
the
okay.
pillar.
Okay.
That felt like I truly was speaking from my own inner language and um I was truly speaking from my I dug very deep for that, and it's so peaceful to me. And when I first created the design, I just remember it. I love the feeling when it just comes out of my hand.
Mm,
That is actually how a lot of
yeah.
this is created. But that one in particular, like as soon as it came out of my hand, I was like, "Oh, this is goated." Like, are you kidding me? And then I started like doing more of it, and then you saw it, and you were like, "Wow, this is really cool." And yeah, anyway,
Thank
I love other people's reactions, but I know these are kind of like not a not necessarily everyone's favorites, but yeah, those are
I love hearing
favorites.
the phrase that you said every time I kept going back to it to visit it. It was kind of like your happy place.
Yes.
And that's really nice to hear because sometimes we're it's I think myself included, but like a lot of artists we create during like torturous, tormented, like sad or whatever times,
Yes.
and
Ah,
when things are going great, I mean, sometimes I have a block and I'm like, I don't know what to do because things are going great. And, um, and again, maybe because some of us, we use art as a form of self-therapy and stuff like that. But it's very refreshing and nice to hear and, talk to artists that that it is possible to create in those happy moments, or you're creating that happy moment in the creating of it,
yes,
right? So, yeah.
exactly. Yes, and it's so funny, and I have told a friend this before that, like, a lot of times the tortured artist idea, blah, 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 like, there
Yeah.
is that stereotype or whatever. For me, it is always when I am well-fed, well-rested,
Yes.
sensorily
Say it again. When you
literally.
are well
When I'm
fed.
well fed, well rested, sensorily stable, like
Yes.
emotionally regulated, that I create my best work. It is, and I don't know. It's just so funny. And then I remember I told that to a friend, and they were like, "I think that's actually most of us, dude." And I was like, "Okay, cool," because I don't
It's
know
a
where this idea, yeah, like comes
yeah.
from. The like, yeah, the
Yeah.
tortured artist, blah blah blah, or whatever.
Uh,
Like, I think was that? Oh, okay. Yeah, the Van Gogh, right? The
oh,
tortured artist. Yeah, exactly. Because and that's what I also tell my students, right? Like, we're talking about the business side and curation, all these things, but it's like everybody can do this. Seriously, it's not just those of us that are weird enough to keep drawing
yeah.
lines over and over again or whatever, like, yeah, like this is something that anybody can create, and anybody everybody should create,
Yeah.
it's in different ways, of course, but
Yeah.
yeah, that is why, yeah, when people get hard on themselves, oh, it's not good, or like I can't draw. Actually, if you can hold the pencil, you can draw.
I
That's
love
it.
that.
Like,
Yes. Yes.
I actually, you made the
You
mark.
did it.
So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, you
no,
did
literally, you
it.
did it. You did it. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, that's just how yeah, it is supposed to be happy, fundamentally. But I do feel a lot of artists are,
Yeah.
we get really hard on
Yeah.
ourselves. Yeah.
I like that. I like this conversation has been really awesome. We have people here today, so if anybody has any questions or just insight or anything you want to share, that would be great. We've got somebody over there. Just gonna give you this so the
Oh wow.
recorder catches it at least, but yeah.
Okay.
Um,
I just got up. I'm a little dizzy. Is this? Oh, it's not a mic. Oh, it's recording. um, I know we're friends, but truly, that aside, some of your art speaks to me in ways that's just beyond words. And I think a reason for that is what you said earlier about you don't paint natural landscapes, it's inner landscapes. And I'm curious if there's an inner landscape of yours that you have yet to visualize in your art like this, but you would like to explore doing that.
Yes. It's
Mhm.
infinite,
Mm.
truly. And that's why, when people say oh, I have artist block and things like that. So sometimes, yeah, it does happen in the sense, maybe you're in the middle of something and you're like, oh, I don't know where to take it or whatever. But I actually don't get artist block. Why? Because I'm still living and breathing, so there's something inside. I might be out of energy or whatever and not wanting to do it. When people say artist block, I think what it is it's not that you don't have ideas, it's that you don't like the ideas that are coming. Right? That's different, right? It's a different thing. So then, so what state are you in? Are you ready to accept what's going to land on the page? If you're not, then sure, you can call that. It's not a block. It's not a vice. I don't like what's coming out, right? Technically, but, so just to broadly answer your question, yeah, absolutely. I've still life left. Yeah. As long as I'm alive, there will be things to create for sure. And I know we didn't talk about the literal aspects of my creative process, but it is for me. It's a instinct, I think, to draw or paint or do something visual. Um, it's like input output. I have something to do. So most of these works are based on that language, uh, which the sketchbooks capture a lot of them. But how do I put it? In the same way that maybe a lot of us speak a language, but writers just create pieces out of it, right? For me, I'm always going to be doing this somehow, whether I want to turn it into a piece or not is just a question. Does that make sense? I don't know. That's a question. Does anybody else have yeah, you could just hand over the
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Do you feel like your art represents you as a journey, or you're more of showing pieces of yourself?
Ooh. I think I'm showing pieces of myself. But did you
No, it's always interesting to hear what the artists thought, right? When we see your pieces, are we seeing the journey that you're doing, or are we seeing what aspects, what thoughts are in yourself? So it's always fun to kind of know what you're thinking when you're making the art.
I'm showing pieces of myself, but when I was putting it together, it was so funny because Teresa was even I got multiple comments when it came to laying it out and everything, let them talk to each other. I think someone told me, or yeah, how are the pieces going to talk to each other? So I struggled, I came pretty close to this, and what ended up coming out, it did for this exhibition, just because this is my first, cumulatively, it is a little bit of my journey. So actually the planet, that was the very first thing I ever did. A full piece. And then my lino cuts, some of you guys may already know those because I put them on cards to my friends, right? And then so it actually did progress. So that's why I'm actually really excited, because there's a lot of work that I've done since that very last one that is even in a different style that so yeah, together it is my journey a little bit, but most of my pieces are moments in time. Yeah. Yeah. Someone over here had a question.
Sometimes I think about, the creative process as in terms of energy.
Yeah.
And I feel, your mathematical and your engineering side, plus your creative side, plus the musician side, right? Two branches of the creative. Does one feed the other? And so do you ever find yourself playing a piece, looking at an axiom, a fundamental, truth or principle, and then that energizes you for the creative process?
Oh, absolutely. That's actually exactly how the works. Yes, Carlos. Great question. That's literally, and and I see this a lot also because when I was in college, I was a science major, but I also taught like diversity workshops and I also minored in music, right? So a lot of times I would come up against different students being like, yeah, like as if math could like contemplate the questions of the universe. And then a lot of STEM people would be like, yeah, like me and my chemicals, like all you're doing is just writing essays. And to me, I'm just like, and it definitely is also the way I was raised too, that like to me, science and spirituality or science and emotion don't conflict with each other. In fact, that is also how I feel about my experiences from in STEM as well as humanities and arts is like different paths to the same truth, and both. So, there's thinking and rationality and there's sensing and feelings. If you look at that duality, both are at the end of the day rooted in unbiased observation. That is also what the scientific method is. We're human beings. We always carry biases, always, right? And that's where shoddy science comes, as well as, offensive, not just offensive, but like shoddy art. I guess there's no way to sound about that, but like, I absolutely see them as like different paths to the same. And even with, the way I was talking about nature, right? Whether you study it from a scientific lens or whether you observe it from a very careful, unbiased sensing lens, right? The outcome or the answer that you land on is that it's above all of us. It's kind of, either way. That's just one example. But yeah, I love that question. Yeah, thank you, Tyler. Is there some?
I do have a question. I liked what you said earlier about artist block and how it's rarely a block, like you just don't really like the output of like some ideas that you might have. What kind of advice do you have for a novice creative such as myself who wants to push past the I don't like the idea, so I'm not even going to try, or like I don't like the idea, so why continue pursuing it, or like the fear of that, to just continue to just create and put stuff out there? And I'm curious also like what your experience was like overcoming that as well.
Yes. So that in itself is the therapy, I think. Yeah. Even when I talk to my students and everything, right? Uh, I do think the way society influences us or the way it's set up is deeply like punitive and critical. So any way you can ease that knee-jerk reaction is definitely like I feel very therapeutic. So that's one thing. Unfortunately, more fortunate, see it. Exposure therapy is going to do some things. However, if you're not, how do I put this? If you're not very gentle with yourself, you're going to do more harm than good. I have to say that because if you make something and you're so, you're having that reaction of like, I don't like it though. And then you show it to someone that probably they themselves is not healed either. And they're like,
Right.
you're gonna guess I'll never do it again.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
you can't do that. You can't do that. And that's why I really like I do feel that is actually my main job as the watercolor teacher to literally just like hold their hand and like provide the soft landing spot for them to be like, but I did it wrong. And then I'll be like, it's okay. Yeah, but you did it right. Like And also, right, like, and that's why I say it's about experientially learning. Like, so the more you do it, the more you'll see that you can recover, and not just recover, that you can keep doing it. The more you do it, the more you really keep doing it, right? And then it's so, and I mean, Latanya is also like just kind of a bit more seasoned creative friend of mine. Like, just in the sense you've been putting a lot of your things out there. So like, I remember telling you, I was like, I just told Latanya, I was like, I don't want to do big work because I'll like make a painting and then what do I do with it? You know, like that. I was literally like, then what do I do? Like, what's the point? And she was like, then you have it, and then you make another one, you make another one, and then you make another one. And then eventually maybe you'll make one you like and you could show that or something like that. Right? Or like, and then put it on your own wall. Like, who cares? Right? Like, I think it's that. Also that aspect of like, you don't need to have somebody to show nobody. Like, it's not like fundamentally, right? Like, you don't ever have to show anybody. You can put it on your own wall and see how you feel about it. So that is actually the other number one thing I would tell like young creatives is like, pay attention to what you like over and over and over and over and over again. Like, if you are baking, if you're watching TV, if you're something that catches your attention, like, follow it, copy it even, right? Like, don't post it and pass it as your own, right? Give credit. But like, I also learned a lot from like copying, and and then you'll be surprised how much you infuse it with your own flavor also. And that is the magic. Like, that's the sweet spot, right? Where you're putting, right? So it's like, I guess I would definitely say, like, don't put pressure on it. Like, revise, repeat a lot. And then like follow what you like always. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hello. I have a question about colors. I am kind of bowled over by the color palettes that you choose for your different pieces. They're all so unique and the colors work so well. Can you talk about your color journey? Like, has it always been intuitive, or what's been your color exploration process like?
Okay. So, because this is something that I used to stress a lot about. And Instagram, all of that garbage, being like, just being like, oh, but it doesn't look good. Okay, so there's a couple of things. Number one, definitely my heritage. Like, for sure, I feel permission. Because so much of Western palette is so minimalist and, oh, we only like this color next to that color, blah, 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 blah. And then it was funny enough, like this is an artist I really love. His name is T. Venkana. He's a Hyderabadi artist and in India who has an MFA. And he was just like, there's no such thing as this color looks better next to this. There's no such thing. And for some reason, I think I needed to hear like a really studied, mastered artist be like, and an Indian one be like, there's no such thing. Like, oh, only this color looks good next to this color. Is there still, how do I put it? A strategy behind it? Yes. Is there still a strategy behind it? And how do I describe that?
Can you describe it?
Maybe it's a mix of both, right? Because the technical aspects, right? So, okay, I'm a watercolor painter. So you do in hand, like, you have to know color theory. Not have to, but I know how to mix colors pretty well. I know how to get from, and then I also have an eye for detail, so I really, really fine tune it. You know, for example, okay, so sailing. I'm gonna out myself right now. I'm mad that those pink floaty things are not paler. I feel like that was the only thing I like messed up on, but the rest like is all very intentional about all of my pieces. Yeah, and I can't totally tell you why. I think it's again just personal taste. Yeah, personal taste. I think definitely color theory helps me to get to where I want to get. And then most of it is observation. Seriously. this piece here, Meditation of a Teardrop. I love to tell this story because it is inspired by, and actually growing up in the Brook and also living in Pilsen, I have so much Mexican art around me all the time. And there's a pot on 18th Street in a shop and it's that indigo color plus this like pink, I just liked it. That's it. Like, and then I think there was some like, there's like a cushion of my mother's in the home that there's like, that's the other thing, like Indian textiles, like that's always like huge. So, and then I kind of like put them together how I liked it. It just so happens that blue and orange are opposites of the color wheel, right? Okay. So maybe there's something there to it or whatever, but like, if I see it, I note it down, and I do color studies a lot because I care a lot about, I like color a lot, But see, walk with friends, right? I did it as I wanted to do this, and they all have different, it's different approaches, but I'm not a minimalist at heart, truly. Like, I'm not, into the, maybe I'm too kitschy for the Western standard or whatever, but definitely my heritage helps me a lot. And sometimes it's also just a matter of materials. Like this one, I don't have many acrylic paints, right? So it kind of limited me, but it turned out great, right? And nature always, right? So I got tired of mixing paints for the Chicago, and then it just so happened it's like, oh, it's the colors of the Chicago flag, kind of, right? So, yeah, it's mostly like things around me that I like. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, that's a great question because it's still evolving for sure. Yeah, genre. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much for sharing your journey. I'm really left with this like limitless feeling from your work, so I'm kind of sitting with that. One thing I was excited about since I did go to the opening event is seeing the addition of your bottle cap art, and would just love to hear more about your journey through mediums. Is it first the idea and then thinking about the medium, or did you want to pursue this new medium and then have that influence what kind of art you wanted to make in the bottle caps?
Thank you so much for asking those. Actually, I love that you noticed them and you felt so towards them. For me, uh, my my first medium was found objects. Truly, it's hard to describe, but you can ask my family. Like, my mom called me a pack rat. I had so much clutter and everything, but I wanted to, and then it is partially is tied to my disability, and my disability, it really impacts all of my art, truly. And I used to feel a lot of shame around collecting objects and things. And then just a couple of turning points, for me, I went to Intuit Art Museum here, and there were whole pieces by people made out of found objects. Yes. And I remember, I think I went to like Michael's or something, and they were selling like kits of funnel caps with whatever curated things, buttons and things like that, where you can turn it into a mobile or whatever. I was like, I literally did that without a kit, right? And I was like, wait, was I onto something this whole time? And yeah, and so I'm super inspired by like other outsider artists, those of us that didn't go to art school, and because found objects is about what catches your eye, right? It makes, again, that I said earlier, from of like, if something catches your eye, like intuitively, if you like it, go after it, kind of. I think the environmentalist in me also loves the idea of like second life for garbage and objects. Only as an adult I realized what a gift it is, that you can see the treasures that, and the possibilities in like a broken narrators or whatever, you know. And again, my culture, I feel, gave me the permission to play because they just with embroidery and like in our dresses, they would put like sequins and little mirrors and everything. Um, so that is again like a huge inspiration for me. But it is truly something that just happens naturally. Now, as a kid, when I would do stuff, I remember, you know, like build things and like I made my mom gave me a dollhouse to place in. I think you actually saw some of my oldest work. It's like I made miniatures, right, out of like garbage. Yeah. And I set it up in a dollhouse and everything. And maybe it's the inner engineer in me or whatever that likes this idea of building things as well. I enjoy like not just the 2D medium, but also 3D. And I used to get so frustrated by the material side. And I'd be like, I want it to be more sturdy. And I just like didn't know the physics at the time. So I gave it up also. Now I'm an adult and I'm like, wait, I think that, okay, this isn't working. And I can be more, experimental with it. And I can talk to other artists and be like, I think it was a line that was like, if you use UV resin, you won't get the bubbles. I was like, and you know, it was like such a process. I had this vision, like I love bottle caps. I just have these bottle caps. I have all this like little garbage that's shiny and pretty. And truly like it is a form of like a big form of self-expression for me. For whatever reason, like I still have a bunch of just like little shinies or little like beads and stuff out, you know, that I just have and put it all together. And to me, I love to see like what else I can create. And when I figured out how to like work the resin, you know, I think it healed something in me because like as a kid, I would try like using different materials and being like, but I don't know. Okay, you have to use a saw if I want like what? Like what? And now like as an adult, I'm like, okay, I can actually like do some research and like, yeah. So that's my, you know, yeah. There's like even a little bit of jewelry making in there. I was like, okay, I'm gonna apply and like do. So yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, it's definitely like yeah, found object like joy in me. Yeah.
Are there any final questions or feedback? Anything? No. Well, thank you so much again for all of you joining us, and for anybody that's going to view this afterwards. It's in the internet's webs.
Yeah.
And yeah, and thank you again, Sajani, for you know, just having, I've been telling this more to folks that work with us, for having that trust and faith with Patch, with myself, you know, and just those on the team that we have helping and working behind the scenes. So thank you for trusting us to help present your work, because it is something that is very sensitive and intimate, and as artists, you know, that we want to share. So thank you for
Thank
letting
you.
Patch be part of your journey as well.
Thank you.
All right. And that is it for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.